Aha. Looks like it's gonna go live. I'm just waiting for the display to catch up before I really say what I want to say. It's showing me the thumbnail for the last video I did. I want to make sure I'm actually broadcasting here before I start speaking on the subject. But obviously the title kind of covers it. I'm talking about PewDiePie and saying the N-word on a live stream. It's really interesting, to say the least, the reaction that he's getting. And I think it's ridiculous to fry the guy. He's definitely, it was a stupid move. He's a professional. He should be watching what he is saying, but only because of how ridiculous people are in giving power to words. And I can't really think of many other words that can cause so much hate, but at the same time they're used constantly in media, in songs he probably sings, in memes he's forced to watch over and over again, the language of other players in those game rooms. So yeah, it was a slip up and he shouldn't have said it, but more because of how rabid people are to foam at the mouth about it. It's absolutely ridiculous the way that they pretty much crucify people for making basic human mistakes. And the only reason, like I said, the only reason that it's a mistake is because people give power to words and they disrespect free speech. If the culture itself, the music, the media, if it weren't pushing this word on everyone through almost every platform, you know, the mind works in very random ways. It's like sometimes you will smell things that aren't there or see things that aren't there occasionally because it's just a big chemistry set and it doesn't always function like a perfectly made computer. So people say stupid shit sometimes mindlessly. You can see the level of concentration on the man's face when he's playing the game, and he's probably heard hours of people saying that word and just mindlessly repeats it. But it's an overall push. Maybe he's just tired of the game. I don't think so. I don't think he purposely said it to end his torture as demonetized figure, but YouTuber. But still, it's like you don't see many of the other cultures using racial slurs as a term of endearment. I mean, it's a situation where they will break down and cry talking about people, which they should have that level of emotion when thinking about history, the history of oppressed people, not just one race or one color, but all people that have been oppressed by monarchies and dictators and conquerors. And it's like people are oppressed, not a particular race, not just one religion, not just one geographic location. People throughout history have been oppressed by those running the machines. It's just ridiculous. He'll probably lose just about every sponsor he's got now, because if they're not politically correct, then they have these hordes of mindless programmed fiends trying to destroy them. It's, you know, the whole idea of free speech comes from, if the king didn't like what you had to say, if the monarchy didn't like what you had to say, they would slit your throat. If you're lucky. First they'd torture you in the streets or torture you in a dungeon. You have to be able to have unlimited speech. I'm not even one that agrees that it should be illegal to scream fire in a theater. That logic is flawed, because actions have individual responsibility to be taken. And when you scream something, if people got hurt because you screamed theater, then you could be charged with manslaughter. There's lots of things that you can be charged with as a crime. To turn speech itself into a crime is to forget history, to not understand why it's the Second Amendment, or I'm sorry, the First Amendment, because you have to be able to be unlimited in your speech to be free. And then you have the Second Amendment to back that up. It's like nobody bigger or stronger. I mean, if somebody wants to come and steal your sheep or your tomatoes or whatever, they shouldn't be able to do it simply because they're bigger and stronger than you and push their way through. And law enforcement has just become, I mean, they're spread too thin, and they tend to overreact to situations for their own safety when their real job is public safety. So they'll come with a full-blown, I mean, here in Oregon, I've seen little old ladies pulled over, and you got 4 or 5 cop cars around them, like it's some escaped criminal from prison. It's just ludicrous. Their justice is not loved in this country anymore. Freedom is not even understood in this country anymore because of all of the programming that goes on in our school systems and in the media. They're programmed victimhood. It's like, it's not that you are not doing what you need to get by in life or to excel in life. It's somehow things were stacked against you. What complete and utter horseshit. It's a cop-out mentality. It's like, oh, it's okay for me to lay down because everything is stacked against me. It's like, what kind of mentality is that? Have you ever looked at nature? Have you ever looked at the universe? It's brutal and hard, and it doesn't give a shit about any human feelings. If you live your life as a victim, you're just waiting for the real world to come and slap you in the face, because life can make you a real victim real quick. One lightning bolt, one sneaker wave from the ocean, one meteorite, then you're actually the victim of something. But there are so many successful people in this country that are of all races that have worked hard to get where they are. And that is the very spirit of this nation. So, I kind of went a little deeper, but the whole idea of PewDiePie getting fried for regurgitating that word is just ludicrous. He shouldn't lose all of his sponsors. People should understand that the media is saturated with the word. It's in almost every rap song. It's in movies, and like I said before, what other racial slur do you know of that's been turned into an endearing term between members of that oppressed group? You know, the Chinese, I mean, I'm not going to say some of the racial slurs. I should be able to speak them in the context of addressing the subject, but people are so rabid that you can't really speak on the subject. I mean, you can't actually say the words without assholes and people that don't understand what freedom is, or, yeah. I'm not going to hand them that power over me by saying them. But you don't see the Chinese using the racial slur for them as an enduring term. You don't see Arabs calling each other the racial slurs as a term of endearment. I mean, the word literally saturates our culture. And it's like this magic word where a special group gets to say it, but everybody else is going to get beat to death in the streets if they do, or at very least these hives of, yeah, well, that's cool, that's totally cool. You want to say it, that's fine, but persecuting somebody else for saying it is a whole other deal. And that's the whole point of this video, is that PewDiePie is probably going to burn hard for this because of this victim mentality programming that everybody goes through. It's like, life is rough. Period. And frying some guy for saying a word is the most ridiculous thing there is. Giving power to words And we literally, the old saying of sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. I lived that, being beat on for years and years as a child at school, one of the big targets of bullying. And I just wouldn't let the words have power over me. I wouldn't let their punches and kicks and shoves and spit and nasty things have power over me. That's their problem. They're sick. They're wrong. The words don't mean anything. But regardless, I am totally just waiting for the axe and the uproar to fall on PewDiePie. And it's just ridiculous. It's ignorance. It's forgetting history. It's forgetting that we have to be able to say anything or we're not free. Words do have consequences. People can give them unreasonable consequences, but, you know, you say things in the wrong context, like the fire in the theater thing, and if somebody gets trampled to death, most likely the family's going to beat the guy, or, you know, if somebody dies in it, you can hold him accountable for manslaughter. But actually charging him for the word itself, for the speech, that's a whole different deal. Disorderly conduct. Lock him up for disorderly conduct. People are trying to watch a movie. Shut your fucking face. But you can't have these double standards. You have to have an equal law on the individual level. Making special groups is destroying freedom. It's taking away freedom. It has to be one law for all. It's just like the king. That's why we had the system. The founding fathers didn't write some antiquated old nothing that doesn't apply anymore. They understood what it was like to be ruled by kings and queens. They took into account the entire history of the world when they wrote the Constitution. They understood people had to have individual rights in order for there to be social justice. You start giving special powers over words and meetings to just a select group, you don't have freedom. You have the tyranny of the minority. Everyone has to have the same set of rules applied to them. So, the idea of PewDiePie getting fried for this is just ridiculous, and there's not really a whole lot more to say except for I hope that people wake the fuck up and understand when every aspect of life is saturated with this word, and he's probably getting called it himself in online gaming, because people on online gaming say the word freely, and he was in such a focused state, he probably didn't even think about what he was saying. It's like the ancient Greeks, I believe, to err is human, because they understood we're animals. We have the evolution of intelligence. We can actually, I think, therefore I am, but we're still fallible by our very nature, and I hope that people leave them alone, but they won't. People are wild, rabid animals, and they attack without thinking these days. But I've said my piece. I hope you all have a great day or night, whatever that may be. And thank you for taking time to listen.